Okay, hopefully we're going to finish up with this video today. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Oh, you know what? Let's do this the right way. Okay, there's my PowerPoint. So as I said, we had a pretty good system going where people were moving out of these institutions. They were going into community-based programming, housing, support. Things were moving along very, very well. And then in the 1980s, we had what was the beginning of a major political shift in this country, both with several presidential administrations as well as the makeup of the House and Senate at the federal level and in several states. We also saw the political leanings of certain political parties begin to shift as well. The result of that was that the monies that were being moved to the community services, the housing, medical support, all the ancillary services, uh, was cut. Uh, a lot of it was moved to military um, endeavors that we were pursuing as a nation. Please understand, I'm not anti-military. Go Navy, beat Army. But anyway, we need a standing military. It does a lot of good, blah, blah, blah. But in this instance, all of these monies were continued to be cut, 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 cut. What didn't change was the federal requirement that these institutions continue to shrink in size. The, the main result of this was that decisions had to be made at state and local levels about who got services. And it came down to providing services to those people who were most incapacitated, most needy, the most severely disabled individuals. Um, those folks who had already been out in the community and were doing well because they had these various support services, some as simple as making sure that they had their pharmaceuticals and that they took their pharmaceuticals. They were able to function very well. When those support services were defunded, those folks um, started to decompensate. There no longer were the institutions for them to go back to. And so fast forward to the last 10, 15 years, and that is why you see about 1/3 of our homeless population in this country are individuals who have substance use disorder and or mental health issues, but they're not being treated and they're not being supported, and so they wander around the streets talking to lampposts and so forth. And in the other scenario, these folks end up in the criminal justice system. And again, if you have any knowledge about our criminal justice system, the vast majority of folks in the system have some issue with substance use disorder and or mental health issues. So this might sound pretty cruel and unusual that our government decided to essentially not support um, and offer resources to a given segment of our citizens, uh, our brothers and sisters in this country. But this is not unprecedented. Please remember that in the throes of the Depression, Herbert Hoover, his administration, and many in Congress voted time and time again not to provide food resources to folks suffering during the Depression. The philosophy being that if they gave these people food, um, then they would become lazy and never again want to be productive members of our society. So the decision was we'll let them starve to death or we'll let them die of disease because of malnutrition rather than feed them. I think we also today are seeing this played out because now with states opening up after, in response to the COVID-19 understand that in those states that are opening up, like Missouri on May 4th, businesses will no longer be qualified to get the small business loans because they could be open. Workers will no longer get unemployment because they could go to work. They're choosing not to. So we see this periodically. This political philosophy rear its head, whether you think it's ugly or not is up to you, that we should not support certain segments of our population, of our citizens, because, oh, they'll just get fat, lazy, and stupid and just keep taking money rather than going out and working. I will tell you that science doesn't support that concept in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video again. This is our last video for today. Again, I'll be watching the discussion boards for your questions, your comments, and your queries for additional information. Thanks a lot.